Chair. Well, so it's a big deal, and we need to get this done. And there are just not enough votes to pass the Reid bill, and there's not enough votes to pass the Boehner bill. That's just obvious. Even though Speaker Boehner drew down dramatically the amount of spending cuts that the House believes should be achieved. And so we've got to get our folks busy. And so while we're continuing to debate into the night, instead of actually recognizing that the Reid bill doesn't have the votes to pass the Senate and absolutely doesn't have the votes to pass the House, it just doesn't. So we got to, at this last desperate moment, hopefully our leaders will get busy, quit worrying about those things, and actually begin to suggesting something that we can work on. And we really shouldn't be in this position, and as I've explained at some length, and I won't repeat it, but I don't like it. I do not like it. I don't think it's right that we have a couple of senators and a couple of House members, our leaders, go off and somehow plop down on the Senate their solution to our problem, and if we don't pass it, the government is damaged and the economy is damaged, because they've waited to the absolute 11th hour plus to produce it. It should never have happened that way. It's irresponsible, and it undermines the integrity of the entire congressional process. We've seen this coming all year long, and we should not have allowed it to happen in this way. Well, let me talk a little bit technically about the Reid bill. It purports to reduce spending and savings by $2.4 trillion. That is not correct. Actually, it increases, reduces the debt that would be increasing by only $927 billion, and we've done our best with the Budget Committee staff to be honest and fair about it. That's about the same number that Speaker Boehner has in his. But Majority Leader Reid insists his saves $2.4 trillion. Why? Because if it's $2.4 trillion, he can justify it be put at next time we address this will be after the next election, will be 2 years away. He doesn't cut that much, but he says he cuts that much, and it's not an accurate thing. Why is it not accurate? Well, they've got their budget apparatchiks working into the night to see how they can make the accounting look better. They didn't like the 927 figure, so what do? They look at the budget projections that it projected war costs would be coming down. Actually, we'll have a $40 billion reduction this year in the cost of Iraq and Afghanistan. Those costs are coming down. The President had projected they would come down to $50 billion soon and would stay at that the rest of the year, which would mean $1 trillion less spending. Remember, we're going to increase debt by 9 to 13, but $1 trillion would have been the war. By reducing the war costs down, you save $1 trillion. But that was already in the books. That's already estimated. And so how did they do it? Well, they came in and they put in a bill that mandated it to come down because, oddly enough, the Congressional Budget Office doesn't assume the war costs will come down. The Congressional Budget Office assumes that it will stay up and we'll spend this $1 trillion more on the war when there's no intent to do that. President Bush wouldn't have spent that much money. And therefore, they put it in the legislation and require it to come down to these numbers, and all of a sudden CBO scores $1 trillion extra savings without any change in spending projections or reality at all. Speaker Boehner didn't count his bill as reducing spending by that $1 trillion when he took the same numbers, same assumptions that spending on the war would come down. But they did that to try to make it look like they were reducing spending more, therefore could extend the debt limit more, and they could make it pass the election, and they could get the political result they want. And that's really what it is. I'm just telling you, it's what it is. Another way to get another $300 billion gimmick is that if you assume a $1 trillion reduction in the war, then you're not paying interest on that money because we'd have to borrow it because we're already in debt, and every amount of money that you can reduce means you borrow less money. Every less spending provision saves money, and it also saves interest on that money. Well, it would be $300 billion in interest saved under the theory, the gimmick that's being used here. So that really amounts to $1.3 trillion in overestimating right there on the amount of savings in the Reid plan. Mr. President, I thank the Chair. I hope that we will reject the amendment, the Reid proposal, and I hope our leaders can achieve in short order a change in our plans for managing our money, raise the debt ceiling, and begin to put this country on a sound path. I thank the Chair and yield the floor.